Welcome into another episode of Tailgate Talk SEC. I am Will Thomas, and today we have got the Week 5 preview in the SEC. Some big games this week. This is by far the best week of the season that we have had so far, and your boy's got to be at a wedding. And it hurts. I don't really know where to go. I don't really know how to process it. I have to be a groomsman, so I really have to be actually engaged. I can't just be in the crowd with several devices watching all these games. It is an early wedding, so I do believe at the after party it'll be in time for the night slate. It'll be in time for Bama, Georgia, and all the other stuff. But overall, I'm really in a bad place right now. That said, I'm going to do all that I can do right now, which is talk about the games. Even if I can't watch them live, I can still talk about them beforehand. So let's just get right into it. Oh, really only 2 cupcake games this week, and the rest are absolute hammers of matchups. Hammers. So let me just get this going. UMass at Missouri. First cupcake game. Missouri is laying 43.5. This is the return trip for UMass after Missouri went and played a game at UMass. You guys remember that? That didn't make any sense. But they are back. This is just for Missouri. They get a bye week after this, and then they host Bama in 2 weeks. So this is just handle business, stay healthy. Dominate on the ground again, because it's really what they do. And get Pribula and Ahmad Hardy out of the game as fast as you possibly can, because there's just no reason for those guys to be in there longer than they have to, and just get to 5-0 if you're Missouri to be undefeated going into that game against Alabama. Bama at Missouri? If Bama wins against Georgia, and then whoever they get next, I have to look at schedules. But I was saying, that could be a game day game based on what else is that week and how Bama does. Don't know any of that information, so I'm just going to move on. Utah State at Vanderbilt is the second easy game of the week. Vandy laying 21.5 for the Doors. They play at Tuscaloosa next week. So this is such a look-ahead spot. Because you're 4-0, you're undefeated, you're feeling good, you get a nobody coming in with Bama looming. I'm not worried about them losing the game. I'm not. Slow game, low scoring, though, that is something that I think is totally on the table. So just stay healthy. If you win the game by 3, you win the game and you're fine. And you're still undefeated, you get to go to Bama and give them your best punch and prove that you belong. So just stay healthy, handle business, and get out of there. Much more competitive matchups. Here we go. We're done with the 2 cupcakes. Kentucky at South Carolina. At time of taping, Carolina is favored by 6.5. I liked what I saw from Carolina a lot in their loss at Missouri. A loss is a loss. A 2-score loss is a 2-score loss. But Sellers threw the ball really, really good, I thought. Didn't he have 300 yards? I believe he had 300 yards. And I think it seemed like his health, the concussion against Vanderbilt, made it so he was not much of a ground threat, because you did not really see him trying to get downfield with his legs. No real designed quarterback runs. And I thought it was a great fight after their loss at home to Vanderbilt. They came out against a Missouri team that, I think is really good and is getting a lot more respect nationally. So they were just a few plays away from being right there at the end against a great Tigers team. And in terms of Kentucky, they're coming off a bye week after a home game against Eastern Michigan most recently. Cutter Boley seems to be their quarterback now. He was much more effective than Zach Calzada had been. He has had 2 weeks out of practice for Kentucky's conference game here against Carolina. Not the conference opener. I almost said conference opener. That was my fault. And Seth McGowan for the Wildcats, he seems to be their biggest playmaking threat, mainly as a running back coming out of the backfield. I was looking at this game, right? Because last season, Carolina was going to Kentucky. It seemed like Carolina was dead. And then they came and blew doors off Kentucky. Could that be a reversal this year? I don't really think so. I just thought it was worth bringing up. But, Eastern Michigan in that last game against Kentucky, they threw for 330 on the Wildcats. So what do we think that Lenore Sellers and Nick Herbert can do? It feels like Carolina's offense is just too much for them. I like Carolina to cover in this game. It's not one of my best bets. We'll get to those. Is it one of those? It is. I'm sorry. But we'll get to that more in depth later. I do like Carolina to cover. I think less than a touchdown at home. I think Kentucky's dead. I think Carolina's coming back from a slow start. So I got the Gamecocks winning by at least a touchdown in that one. Fayetteville better be loud. Notre Dame at Arkansas. This line has been plummeting. Let me actually look right now as I'm doing this, because earlier today it was all the way down to 3.5 for Notre Dame. Just about a field goal. So just 1 second, please, while I'm doing this. But this line absolutely plummeting. It's a lot of confidence in the Hogs, which is pretty good to see after how heartbreaking that loss was against Memphis and how heartbreaking their loss was against Ole Miss the week before. It's out to 4 now. Out to 4 at time of taping. So I'm sure it'll be floating around that 3.5 to 4.5 window up until kickoff. Arkansas just can't stop doing what they're doing. I brought up the painful loss after painful loss, really in every sport. It's not even just football. That poor fan base has to go through so much. But how about this as a bounce back spot? Now, Notre Dame is not ranked in the top 10 like we thought they might be. They're ranked still, even though I don't think they should be. But this is a ranked Irish team that is effectively now in playoff mode for the rest of their season because they lost 2 games already. My biggest question for the Hogs here is, can Taylon Green take care of the ball? He had multiple picks against Memphis, and Notre Dame will allow explosive plays through the air. Their secondary has been prone to that. And they also grade out poorly in predicted points added against the pass. So when offenses have successful passing plays against Notre Dame, they tend to be more significant, right? Not just like short, dick, and dunk. Like when they complete passes on the Irish, they really work. So if Taylon Green, we know he's going to have good passing numbers, or I can confidently guess that Taylon Green will have good passing numbers, but can he keep the ball safe? Can he be responsible with it? Because Notre Dame, we know about their running backs, but they get stuffed a lot. So they'll have their explosives, but the Notre Dame O-line does not grade very well, preventing getting stuffs at the line of scrimmage. And Arkansas's defense has a great stuff rate. So can the Hogs' front seven kind of slow down Notre Dame's running backs from ever really getting going, ever really getting in a groove? If they can do that, you put a lot more pressure on C.J. Carr, and that's a really good recipe for success for the Hogs. To me, this is a similar feel as to when Tennessee won to Fayetteville last year. Right, you got a freshman quarterback on the road. Last year it was Nico. This year it's C.J. Carr. Arkansas kind of on the ropes. Sam Pittman kind of on the ropes for his job security. Go get it done. I've got Arkansas to win this game tight. They're not going to blow them out. I've got Arkansas to win this game, knock Notre Dame out of the playoffs in September, and reinstill some more hope in the Hogs fan base. Another game that I'm really excited. I'm excited about all these games. I don't even need to keep saying that. But Auburn at Texas A&M. A&M is favored by 6.5 with the total set at 52.5. Auburn is coming off of that physical and emotional war against Oklahoma, draining in every sense. And A&M is coming off a bye, and they get to stay home and just drive to their stadium and play Auburn on Saturday. But A&M, they've had 2 weeks to hear all of the rat poison. They've had 2 weeks to hear how great they are. They just beat Notre Dame in a thriller. Oh, Mike Eckel got this team over the hump. What do we know about their defense for A&M? They gave up 40 to Notre Dame, who can't get receivers involved, who are mainly going to be a ground-focused attack. And they gave up in the 20s to Utah State and I believe Kent State. No, not Kent State. Who was? I don't know. But they played their 2 cupcakes. They gave up into the 20s to both of those teams. Comparing Auburn to Notre Dame, just to see how A&M's defense will stack up. Auburn's running backs are not as strong as Notre Dame's. I think their passing attack is a whole lot better, though. And C.J. Carr threw for 293 on the Aggies. Auburn against Oklahoma, Arnold threw for 287 despite getting sacked 10 times and the constant pressure. So this Auburn offense, the passing game, I think really can unlock another step. And A&M's defense, I'm not sure, is really equipped to stop a bunch of passes. But neither is Auburn's defense against A&M's offense. A&M has a great explosive pass grade. Auburn's is bad. Now, Auburn's secondary, they played better than I thought they would against Oklahoma. But in the aggregate, they're still a little bit in the lower half of explosive pass defense. Now, could they have totally corrected that at Oklahoma? Maybe. But for right now, the matchup on paper profiles as a better one for the Aggies when they're throwing the ball around. I think Auburn comes into this game angry. They know that Oklahoma game had slipped away, and they feel like they got robbed. They feel like they got robbed of that Oklahoma game. I think they come out and compete. I think they fight. I think they win the game outright in College Station. Give me Auburn to bounce back. 31-24, maybe something like that. One of my best bets does have to do with this game. It is the over in it. We'll talk about that some more later also. But give me Auburn outright on the road in another upset in the conference this week. LSU at Ole Miss. LSU opened up, laying 1.5. Bridge has been totally crossed. Ole Miss was out to a 2.5 point favorite. Now it's at 1.5 with the total at 54.5. I mean, the Rebels look awesome on offense with Trinidad Chambliss running the show. He had 307 in the air and 112 on the ground versus Tulane after having 353 in the air and 62 on the ground against Arkansas. The Rebels offense is absolutely on fire. They have great success rates, passing explosives, and points per opportunity. On the other side of the ball, LSU's running game has been the problem for them really all year. They haven't been able to establish a running game. Therefore, the passing game is a little slower, a little harder to get going. Ole Miss's run defense is horrible. Stoppable force, movable object. I don't know what's going to happen, but LSU might be able to find a running game against an Ole Miss front that's a little soft. They lost a lot of guys from last year, didn't quite fill it in with the same level of talent. So I think LSU in this game could potentially run the ball a little bit better. And we saw in LSU's last game against Southeast Louisiana, I get it, but their offense had their best showing of the year. They had Louisiana Tech in week 2. Offense still looked kind of slow. So I'm wondering if LSU's offense really did kind of hit a gear last week against Southeast Louisiana. And if they get going, that offense has so much talent. So much talent. But for Ole Miss's offense, one more time, this is the biggest test for their offense this year. And I go back to last year when these two teams played. Granted, it was in Death Valley compared to being played in Oxford. But with Jackson Dart at quarterback and a guy like Trey Harris at receiver, Ole Miss only scored 26. I don't believe that Chambliss and Harrison Wallace is near the same as a Jackson Dart Trey Harris combo. I think Ole Miss's offense talent-wise is a little bit worse than last year. I think LSU's defense is way better than it was last year. So if they only scored 26 last season, can they really all of a sudden go out there and get 35, get 38 this year? I'm not sure that they can. And I think that LSU's passing matchup is really good against Ole Miss's defense. I think that LSU's offense hits a gear. I've got LSU winning this game by about a touchdown. I'm seeing like 35-28. I would expect this game to go over as well. I like LSU to win this game outright. Give me them plus money on the money line. Alabama at Georgia, a rematch of last year's absolute classic. Georgia is favored by 3, total set at 54.5. Both teams are fresh off of a bye, and Alabama, they've really come along since the FSU sledgehammer to the face. You know, Ty Simpson, has looked really, really good. The passing game has looked sharp. The running game has not looked good. But Jam Miller is back. He was their running back 1 coming out of camp. He got hurt, has not yet played this year. He's playing this week. How effective can he be in his first game back? He's been practicing this week, but it's not super easy all the time for you to get to quickly adjust to game speed after being hurt. It's especially hard when you're in Athens against Kirby Smart. Georgia, offensively, they answered a lot of questions when they went to Knoxville and put up 40-plus on Tennessee. Granted, the Vols were down their 2 starting corners in that game, but scoring 40-plus in Neyland in an environment like that is always going to be impressive. And Bama's defense struggles with explosives. Now, Georgia's offense on paper didn't profile as an explosive passing offense, but they clearly can be. They have 3 elite receivers. Gunnar Stockton looks confident throwing the ball downfield, and there's nothing really special with Bama's defense stopping the run. Georgia can lean on you. That's been their identity for years. They can lean on you with that running game. I think Georgia's going to be able to control both sides of the ball, and they just don't really lose at home. They've won their last 30-something home games. I'm not going to be wrong picking this game, picking against Georgia and Kirby Smart at home. Give me the dogs. I think this game is a little slower. I think it's more low scoring. I'm like 27-17 Georgia. I've got Georgia winning by 10, but not in like they won this game by double digits. Like a close competitive game where I just think Georgia gets a little bit of cushion at the end, beating Alabama for revenge for last year. The final game of our Week 5 preview, Tennessee at Mississippi State. This game is going to be fun. I believe the line now is 7.5 in favor of the Vols, total in the low 60s. Now, when I first saw the line, because it opened up at 8.5, I thought it was meant to draw bets on Mississippi State to kind of trap you in, and then Tennessee was going to come out and absolutely lay the hammer. Most of the bets are coming in on the Vols, and the line is moving down. That eliminates any real fear of a trap spot gambling-wise in my eyes. I look at when Arizona State went to Starkville. They held Sam Leavitt to below 50% passing, only 82 yards and 2 picks, and they were able to deal with a power running game and still be able to win that. Tennessee's offense is a notch above ASU's talent-wise. They kind of want to do the same things. They want to have a power run game to set up a good passing attack. Mississippi State's already stopped that. Now, it is going to be harder stopping Aguilar and the Vols' offensive skill players, but they've already seen this kind of offense in their stadium, and we saw what happens. They beat them to really try and set the tone for their whole season. Mississippi State's defense has a great success rate in passing downs. Their DBs cause havoc a lot of the times, and points per opportunity is very, very good for their defense. They're very good at holding teams to field goals or maybe even forcing punts once they get on their side of the field. Tennessee's offense, it grades out well in those areas also, but my worry with Joey Aguilar is the same as it always has been, right? He's going to throw for a lot of yards. He'll have a few touchdowns. Does he also have 2 picks? is there a time like in the Georgia game where he starts missing throws? Like, I'm still worried about him consistency wise. I'm not worried about him numbers wise. Overall, I think he's going to put up some good numbers. I'm worried about him consistently because if he throws 2 picks on the road, that's the recipe to lose. It's a recipe for total disaster. And Blake Shapen has looked really, really sharp for Mississippi State. The running back duo with Fluff Bothwell is coming along very well. Tennessee's secondary is still beat up. We don't know the status yet of Ricky Gibson and Jermod McCoy. Those are their top 2 DBs. If they're out again, we saw UAB last week. They went to Neyland against this beat-up secondary. They threw the ball around. They had 300-plus passing yards. Mississippi State's passing offense is better than UAB's. So if Tennessee is still beat up, I think Mississippi State will be able to throw the ball around a pretty good bit. For my game prediction, I've been hyping up State this whole preview. I've been saying I'm worried about Tennessee. I don't think Mississippi State is really this good, and I don't see Tennessee starting off 0-2 in conference play. I think this game is going to be close. I think Mississippi State covers. I've got Tennessee winning this game by a touchdown to get their first conference win of the year and really be a confidence booster, right? Going on the road, avoiding an 0-2 start in conference play. I do think Heupel and the Vols get it done this weekend. Those are all the games. Those are all the SEC games in this Week 5 preview. So let me get to the best bets. I already brought up a bunch of these, but let me just run through them one more time. I've got LSU on the money line. I got them at plus 114 a little bit earlier in the week. I believe it's down just like plus 105 or something like that right now. But like I said, I think that Ole Miss's offense has not been tested by a defense of LSU's caliber. I think that'll shock them. And I think LSU's defense will be able to maybe force a turnover, get one more stop than Ole Miss, and be able to win a big game on the road. Carolina minus 6.5 hosting Kentucky. I just think Kentucky's bad. I do think Cutter Boley is an upgrade over Zach Calzada. I'm not sure that matters because I think that Lenore Sellers and that offense is starting to wake up, and they'll have a good day at home against the Wildcats. Georgia minus 3. Another one of my best bets. I just think they're going to be able to control the game. They don't lose at home. I'm worried about Bama still being kind of one-dimensional, even with Jam Miller back. I'm just not sure if he can bust on the scene and play to his full potential in his first game back at Georgia. I'm just not sure that works out for him. Mississippi State plus 7.5 is one of my best bets. I do think Tennessee wins outright, but I like State to cover over a touchdown at home. And the over 52.5 in Auburn versus A&M because I think both defenses are a little soft against the pass. I think we see a lot of points scored in an absolute classic game in College Station. So my final best bet is the over in Auburn versus A&M. That's all we got. That is all we got. This is going to be an awesome Week 5 of college football around the sport, but especially in the SEC. I am so mad I can't watch all of these games, but I'll be following them. I'll try and be on social media as much as I can. I should be able to watch the late games, but this slate is just awesome. I'm so excited to see how it plays out. Everybody enjoy your college football weekend, and thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Tailgate Talk SEC.